Omagyatimmirandasya Gyaranjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you all to this 2-day seminar on the Ramayana. As Dailaram Prabhu was just introducing me, I thrive in chaos. That's a fact. I tend to actually start functioning when too many things are happening. When there is just one thing happening, I somehow don't function at all. When there is 10 things happening together, somehow or the other I tend to function better. Unfortunately, this is a conditioning, but this conditioning can also become an asset. Of course, whether it is by choice, whether it is by nature, or whether it is by force, all of us, I guess, those who live in Bombay, we are in an environment of chaos all the time, and we are expected to thrive in chaos. We are expected to really be ourselves, happy, and really prosper in a chaotic atmosphere around us. Understanding all that, these 2 days hopefully will help you understand some aspect of life and hopefully give you some tips to handle life in a chaotic environment. Before I actually begin speaking on the Ramayana, I would like to share with you all a small story. This is a true story that happened some time back, and this is a story that probably all of us would have experienced in our own personal lives also. But if you just ponder upon the story, which is something very ordinary and very simple, you will realize that there are some really deep truths of life that are hidden within it. One time, there was a man who was jogging, and suddenly, as he was in the middle of his jog, it started pouring rain, very intensely pouring. This man, just to kind of find some way to save himself from the rain, he went and found a shade under which he went and stood. And as he was running towards the shade, naturally he was getting wet. So he put his hand on his head so that at least his specs is saved, whatever little he could save himself from. And he went and stood under the shade. And very soon, within that shade, many people started coming from all over. And they all started coming and standing under the shade along with this man. This man observed something very interesting. Each and every person who came under that shade came cursing. Rains are useless, rains, always it rains at the wrong time. And one man, he was taking out his notes and he was drying them, money was getting wet. Another man, he was saying that today the stocks are going to crash. Another man instead said, I'm going to get late for a job, so on and so forth. And this man was just standing and observing all the other people, complaining, cribbing, criticizing. Suddenly, in the midst of this, he saw a little far away one man coming towards the shade, naturally hiding from the rain. He also had his hands like this. But along with him was a small daughter. So he was covering his head with one hand, holding the hand of his daughter with the other hand, and running towards the shade. But this man, what he noticed was not the man who was running, but the daughter who was along with him. She was doing something very interesting. While everybody held their hands like this small girl held her hand like this, catching the rain, drinking the water, catching the rain, drinking the water. And then soon they came and stood under the same shade. And as soon as they came and stood under the shade, the father got busy on his mobile, messaging. And the daughter, she still was obsessed with the rain. She put out her hand, filled some water, drank it. And suddenly, she asked the father a question that the father completely neglected, least bothered about that question. But this question hit this man very hard. The question that this girl asked was, Daddy, why doesn't it rain daily? The father, he was busy messaging. He said, Hoga, it will rain. And then the daughter was just happy drinking the water from the rain directly. And again she asked him, Daddy, why doesn't it rain daily? The daddy was least bothered. But this man who was standing next to the father, he got an answer for some of the most complicated questions of life through that one question that this daughter asked. Essentially, this man was thinking that isn't that how life is? The rain is impartial to everyone. It doesn't just only rain on rich people. It doesn't just only rain on poor people. It doesn't just rain only in the farms. It doesn't just rain only in the buildings. It rains everywhere. The rain is impartial. Rain falls on everybody equally. Essentially, similarly, God's energies, they rain on everyone equally. And God's energies fall on every person impartially. Some people hold their hands on their heads. The water does fall on them, but it drops off. And some people hold their hands like this and they drink it. All of us, we have the option of how we want to behave, how we want to deal with the rain of God's energy that comes into our life. Those who hold their hands like this, the rain does touch them, but it falls on the ground. They can't use that energy. And those who hold their hands like this, the rain settles on their hand and they can drink it. So those who actually hold their hand out and drink the energy, God's energy that comes into their life, it goes in, energizes them, empowers them, and they do something great. And the energy of God that has gone into them enables them to do something great, but the credit comes to the man. The man takes the credit. The energy does the work, but the man gets the credit. Today, we are discussing a story from the Ramayana about one such person. One such person who, just like all of us, has the facility to receive God's grace, God's energies. But this man, instead of holding his hand on top like this, he decided to hold his hand like this. Receive the energy of the Lord, drink it, absorb it, and do something that sets an example for the world to follow. And that's the character of Bharat that we're going to discuss in the next 2 days. Essentially, this section of the Ramayana that we're going to discuss is a story of a person who entered into an extremely chaotic Ayodhya. And within that extremely chaotic Ayodhya, within that extremely chaotic atmosphere, rather than being affected by the atmosphere, rather than succumbing to that atmosphere, he decided to stand apart and create orderliness within chaos. He decided to thrive within chaos. And therefore, this section of the Ramayana that we're going to discuss today is about some people who were a part of the chaos, but they decided not to be affected by the chaos. And therefore, this section of the Ramayana is something that I personally feel is one of the most relevant and the most important sections of the Ramayana, because this can actually teach us some lessons that we probably would never otherwise have come in touch with. Before I start speaking the Ramayana, I would like to offer some prayers to Valmiki Muni. Kujantam Rama Rameti Maduram Maduraksharam Aruya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam Valmikir Munisimhasya Kavita Vanicharinaha Shrunva Rama Katanadam Konayanti Parangatim. One time, Parvati Devi, she asked Lord Shiva this question, which is a part of the Vishnu Sahasranam. Keno Payana Lagunam Vishnu Nama Sahasrakam Patyate Pandite Nityam Shrotumichami Yaham Prabhu. She asked, what is that by chanting which is as equivalent as the Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu? She wanted Lord Shiva to personally tell what is his source of meditation, what is his focus of meditation. And Lord Shiva quoted the very famous shloka, Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. He said that when we chant the holy names of the Lord, of Lord Ram, and when we discuss the glories of Lord Ram, it is explained that it is one name of Lord Ram is equivalent to chanting the entire Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. And this is Lord Shiva's personal meditations. But if you study the Ram Leela, the story of Lord Ram, we'll find that in the story of Lord Ram, personally, Lord Ram giving greater credit to Bharat. In fact, Ram, at two instances in the Ramayana we find, Ram during the 14 years of exile, he decides 2 times to quit that exile and go back to Ayodhya because he is missing his brother Bharat. He doesn't say so much about Kaushalya, missing Kaushalya. He doesn't say so much about missing anybody else. But he talks about missing Bharat in that way. And Vashishta, the guru of Ram and Bharat, Lakshmana Shatrughna, he says, anything that comes out from the mouth of Bharat is dharma. Can you imagine your guru telling you that? Anything that comes out from the mouth of Bharat is dharma. That is the kind of personality that Bharat was. In fact, when Lord Ram killed Vali, I'll not discuss that now, but essentially when Lord Ram killed Vali, the only question that Vali asked him was, he was actually shocked that Ram killed him from a hiding place. So Vali asked him, I can't believe that the brother of Bharat can kill me from hiding place. Can you imagine? So he is not so much saying that Ram killed me from hiding place, he is saying the brother of Bharat killed me from a hiding place. So which means you can imagine that from Vali's point of view, he considered Bharat to be a greater Dharmatma than Ram also. So we are studying the personality and character of such a person, and therefore it's something that is extremely important. But before we enter into the life of Bharat and actually begin, I want to set the scene by taking a little before so that we actually get into the mood of the Ramayana. Ramayana has one very primary rasa or mellow which is known as Karuna Ras. Karuna Ras essentially means the mellow of compassion, the mellow of crying. In the Ramayana you will find about 70% of the time in the Ramayana people are crying only. So not everybody enjoys the Ramayana so much. Both rona dona hai. Sab rote rehte hai, Whenever there is responsibility, there will be tears. Ramayana is a book of responsibility, and naturally, when responsibility comes, it is also means that there will be a need for sacrifice that comes. And whenever there is a need for sacrifice that comes, there will be tears that will come. But in spite of those tears coming, when a person is happy, that's a person of substance. So Ramayana doesn't talk to you, doesn't share with us about how to be happy in life. But Ramayana teaches us about how to be satisfied in life. When you do good, when you follow the right conduct, happiness is not guaranteed, satisfaction is guaranteed. So Ramayana is a book of satisfaction because it is a book of principles. So I am taking you all to Ayodhya. How many of you all here happen to have attended the last seminar that I gave on this book, Shattered Dreams? I spoke easy journey from stress to bliss. It's a couple of months back. Okay, few of you all attended. Those who didn't, it's okay. There's no connection as such. I'm just continuing the story. Those who didn't, you can always go back. You can Google on, you can search on YouTube for those videos. You will always find them. So I stopped last time in the section where Ram, Lakshmana and Sita, they left from Ayodhya, the palace of Dasharat, and decided to quit the city of Ayodhya, go in exile. I'm starting the whole story from that section. So right now, the drama, the intense family drama has already taken place. Dasharat, Kaikeyi, Manthara, there's a lot of drama that went in, which was very intense. And then finally the outfall of the drama was that 3 people left the city. Ram, Sita and Lakshman, they left the city. And as soon as they got off the palace, Ram, Lakshman and Sita boarded on the chariot which Sumantra was driving, and Ram told Sumantra, take me fast out of the city. Dasharat, the king, old man, he was running behind the chariot. He couldn't run fast. And he was telling Sumantra, stop the chariot, stop the chariot. Ram kept telling Sumantra, go faster, go faster. So Sumantra got confused. What should I do? Should I stop or should I go fast? And Ram told him, you go fast, and when you come back and the king asks you, why didn't you follow my instructions? Tell him I didn't hear. There was too much noise going on. Ram told him to tell a lie. Can you imagine? The reason Ram told him to tell a lie was because by telling that one lie, Sumantra was saving Dasharat from a lot of pain. Pain, the purpose of truth is to decrease pain. But if truth itself creates pain, that truth is not actually, useful. That truth is not really, worth telling. So Ram actually asked Sumantra to tell a lie so that Dasharat's pain can be decreased. It will be a shorter period of time. So the chariot went away from Dasharat's palace. It was going towards the outskirts of Ayodhya now. And as the chariot was leaving, thousands of citizens, practically the entire Ayodhya, everyone was moving along with the chariot towards the gates. No one wanted Ram to go. No one wanted Ram to leave Ayodhya. And essentially, at some point of time, when the chariot reached towards the gates of Ayodhya, beyond the gates of Ayodhya, beyond the fort wall of Ayodhya, is a moat. There is a big moat that covers the entire city with water in it, and that kind of prevents enemies from coming in. So outside the wall, there was a big moat of water. And inside the wall, there was an ocean of people who were preventing Ram from leaving Ayodhya. So essentially, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting scene because Ram is mounted on a chariot. The chariot looks like a boat. And there are thousands of people who are surrounding him. The thousands of people are like oceans, waves of the ocean, waters of the ocean. And the tears that are coming out from their eyes, salty tears, make it like an actual ocean only, So thousands of people are crying tears over here, not allowing Ram to get out from the gates of Ayodhya. And essentially, some of the citizens were looking at Ram. Ram is actually Matsya Avatar in his previous incarnation. When Ram appeared as Matsya Avatar in his previous incarnation, the fish incarnation actually came to save the great souls, to save the sages from drowning in the ocean. So the fish was in the ocean and the sages were on the boat. Now, opposite, the fish incarnation, Ram is on the boat and everybody is in the ocean. And here, Ram is not trying to save them. Like the Matsya came to save them, Ram is not trying to save them. He is happy drowning them in the ocean of separation. So essentially, Sumantra, he was observing the whole scene. He was looking at everybody. Every person in Ayodhya at that point of time was almost like a dead body only. They were all like frozen paintings. The only thing that was moving was tears from their eyes. And Sumantra, he looked at every home in Ayodhya. Every home in Ayodhya appeared to be like a funeral parlor where only dead corpses were laying. And Kaikeyi looked like the messenger of death who had set all the houses on fire in Ayodhya. And for the citizens of Ayodhya, Ram looked like a pot of nectar. So they were looking up to him, thinking that, hoping that, praying that he will save them from this calamity. Any drop of words that come out from the mouth of Ram will help them deal with what they are going through. So Ram, he looked at all the citizens crying. He stood much higher than them on a chariot. But actually he was not just physically higher, he was actually spiritually higher, he was actually emotionally higher than them also. Only a person who is higher on a spiritual plane, on an emotional plane, can bring a person who is lower on an emotional plane up. So essentially, Ram was looking at all of them and he decided, let me speak something that will help them. So he smiled at all the citizens like a loving father. Now he was no more like a prince. He had upgraded his role into a loving father. And when he looked at all the citizens, he said, the love of the followers is the best form of encouragement for the leader. And all your love is evident very clearly in the form of tears that are coming out from your mouth. But actual love, real love means that you should please the object of your love the way he wants. So essentially, if you love me, you have to do two things. Ram was telling them. One thing, make sure that the king doesn't suffer any agony based on your thoughts, words or actions. And the second, all the love that you are sharing on me, repose that love on Bharat and accept him as your next king and a dynamic king. And Ram started glorifying Bharat. He said, Bharat may be young in age. He may be Vayo Balaha. Vayo means age. Balaha means child. He may be a child in age. But he is Jnana Vriddha. He is ripe in wisdom. He is old in his wisdom. He said that he is gentle in his demeanor. He may look to be a very soft, gentle person. But in a fight, he is like a lion. In today's world, people are opposite. People are old in age, but they are, mentally very young. They have hardly any understanding, intelligence. They may be very fierce in their demeanor, but when they go to fight, they will run away. They are cowards. So essentially, Ram was telling them, if you can do these two things for the next 14 years, he said, I assure you that you are all pleasing me and you all really love me. But the problem was, as Ram was glorifying Bharat more and more and more, the citizens were becoming more and more crazy about Ram. It's very interesting how when you glorify somebody else, you become attractive. Words of inspiration are, when they are spoken by wise people, words of inspiration are like lozenges. When you have a bad throat, when you eat some mint or lozenges, what happens? Your throat feels peaceful. Similarly, when your heart is devastated, the words that come out from wise people, those words are like lozenges. They actually soothe your devastated heart. And essentially, what Ram was doing over here is known as situational leadership. For those who are new, who have never heard a seminar on Ramayana from me, I just wanted to explain to you one thing before I go ahead. Whenever you see a blue box on the screen, you know that it is a lesson. Whenever you see a black box on the screen, you know it's a story. So whenever I'll be telling the story, I'll stop and I'll tell a lesson. So right now lesson is going on. So you are mentally aware what's going on. Suddenly you might find some, modern examples coming, so you don't get confused. So I just wanted to tell you all that. So essentially, what Ram did here is exactly what Krishna did in Mahabharata. Krishna was standing on a chariot and Arjuna was bewildered totally. He was crying tears like anything. And to help Arjun come out of the anxiety, come out of the tears, Krishna spoke the Gita. Only a smiling Krishna can help a crying Arjun. In today's world, the counselor and the counseled both are crying. How will a crying counselor help a crying counseled? Not possible. Today, every third person goes to a psychiatrist. That means every psychiatrist goes to another psychiatrist. So if somebody is crying himself, how can you elevate somebody who is smiling, who is himself crying? So here, what is situational leadership? Situational leadership essentially means, let the problems come from anywhere at any time, I'll find a solution to it. Instead of expecting circumstances to customize to your needs, we should customize ourselves to whatever circumstances come to us. That is situational leadership. There is a bird known as a buzzard. This is a very interesting type of bird because the property of this bird is that, the quality of this bird is that for it to fly, it has to run for about 10 feet. It runs like an airplane and then it flies. After running for 10 feet, it flies. You put that buzzard into a box, never in its life the buzzard can ever fly. Even if the box is open on top. Why? It can't adjust into a situation. When the situation changes, its ability to fly higher doesn't exist. You put a bat, I'm sure all of you have seen bats, and how flexible bats are. But the problem with the bat is that if the bat falls on the ground on any floor, which is an even flat floor, the bat can never take off. The bat has to throw himself from a cliff. It has to have some kind of an elevation to take off. Like if the bat falls here, as soon as the bat goes off this stage, it can fly. But if it is on the ground, it can never fly. That means the bat needs a cliff, needs an elevation to take off. You put a bumblebee into a jar or into a glass. When the bumblebee is inside the glass, though the bumblebee has the ability to fly, the bee can never get out of the glass because the bee doesn't think that it can go straight upwards. Situational leadership essentially means that no matter what the situation is, the leader finds a solution to that situation. It's not that the leader has to be put in particular customized situation and then he can find a solution. Whatever situation is, the leader has to have the ability to help people rise up. And Ram follows this concept of situational leadership because in the most chaotic environment, in the most negative environment, his words are hope-giving for people. And he knows exactly what to speak to help people come out from the negativity that they are in. The citizens of Ayodhya, after hearing Ram, they become a little pacified, but they can't give up Ram's association. Ram realizes that as long as they are seeing me, they are not going to be able to let go. So he told Sumantra, move fast. So Sumantra starts taking the chariot faster ahead. And as Sumantra is moving ahead, there is like a stampede. People are all trying to run around the chariot, be with Ram as close as possible. The younger people manage to be closer to the chariot, but the older people, they are struggling. Some of them are being pushed, some of them are falling. Some of the old Brahmanas who are not able to catch up with the speed of the chariot, They start shouting. They don't call to Ram. They don't tell Ram, Ram, come back. They don't tell Lakshman, Sita. They don't even tell Sumandra, come back. They tell the horses, oh horses, come back. Don't go. When Ram hears the desperation of these old people, he realizes that it's not right. That I am on a chariot and all these people are on the, walking on the ground. Ram gets down from the chariot and he starts walking. The empty chariot is going behind and nobody cares for the chariot now. Before everybody is running behind the chariot, now the chariot is just going alone on its own. And Ram, Lakshman and Sita are walking and everybody is following behind them. So Ram's display of sensitivity is not like a politician trying to impress his vote bank. But this was a spontaneous action of a soft, caring and a non-scheming heart. Ram, he didn't plan that when old people will get, tired, I will get down and walk with them so that they get impressed with me, and they want me only and not Bharat. Just sensitive, absolutely. So when Ram leaves, the gates open and Ram leaves the gates of Ayodhya, following him a huge river of people is flowing. One of the ancestors of Lord Ram was named King Bhagirat. Bhagirat was the one who got Ganga from the heavens. And as Bhagirat was going ahead, Ganga was flowing behind him. But here, Ganga flowed behind him and entered into the ocean. But here, what is happening is that behind Ram, the ocean is following. The ocean of citizens of Ayodhya. Salty water. Ocean doesn't follow anybody. But here, the ocean was following Ram. So all the citizens were calling back to Ram, come back, but Ram was just walking ahead. So they were just praying that someone stops Ram. And finally, after walking about 8 miles, the Tamasa river, the river that actually borders Ayodhya, that came in between. The river actually came like a wall. And it was already, and the sun set. So the forces of nature also, on the side of the citizens of Ayodhya, not wanting Ram to leave Ayodhya. So he had left much ahead of the borders of Ayodhya, but he didn't really completely leave the Goshal province. So Ram decided to camp on the banks of the Tamasa river. It's very interesting, as Ram, Lakshman and Sita were walking away out of the borders of the city of Ayodhya, the innocence of Sita is mentioned here. Sita was such an innocent girl, she had never ever in her life stepped out of the precincts of the palaces of Ayodhya. So when she was told that she is going to the forest, she didn't know what a forest was. So at every stage she kept asking Ram, have you reached the forest? They didn't even leave the gates of Ayodhya. She's asking Ram, have you reached the forest? Ram said, Are Baba, this is inside Ayodhya only. Then they reached the borders of Ayodhya. She's asking again, have you reached the forest? Can you imagine such a delicate and soft personality having to go through the pain of such a forest life? But Sita never once in the 13 years of their exile ever complained. Because for her, association of Ram was Ayodhya. Whether Ram is in the jungle or whether Ram is in Ayodhya, that didn't matter. So when the Tamasa river came, Ram decided to camp. And he took advantage of the opportunity to hear from great sages. So immediately Ram gathered all the great sages and sat under their feet and wanted to hear from them. So he spent quite a bit of the night. He decided to fast that night, the first night that they left Ayodhya. And he continued hearing the messages of wisdom from the great sages. So essentially, when one studies great books, one gains knowledge. But when one hears from great souls, one receives wisdom. So what is wisdom? Wisdom is knowledge that is digested by humility and realized by application. So the great sages, they have digested the knowledge with their humility and they have realized it because they have applied it in their life. And therefore when they speak, what comes out is not knowledge anymore, but it is wisdom. So Ram, it is very interesting how Ram dealt with his situation in life. When Kaikeyi she shared this news that Ram has to leave Ayodhya, as soon as Kaikeyi mentioned that you have to leave Ayodhya, the first reaction that Ram gave was that, my dear mother, thank you very much. I was looking for such an opportunity because I always wanted time so that I can sit under the feet of the great sages and hear from them. So these 14 years will not be 14 years of exile, but will be 14 years of learning for me. When a group of crows attack an eagle, the eagle doesn't fight back with the crows. The eagle simply flies higher. The crows can't reach it. So when Ram entered into the extremely negative atmosphere that Kaikeyi created, Ram never argued with her. He never argued saying that, come on, how can you do this to me? I am the prince. I've already been designated here. He never argued. Intelligent people, when they are put into negativities, they don't try to solve the negativity. They try to rise above the negativity. They try to transcend the negativity. So Ram didn't try to solve the problem of Ayodhya. He decided to see the problem from a totally different point of view. He saw that these 14 years are not 14 years of exile. They are 14 years of learning for me. Before I become the king, I need to learn as much as possible from all the sages. Where will I get such an opportunity ever in my life? So he saw the whole thing from that perspective. And that very first night, he started his learning. And we find throughout the Ramayana, the 14 years, Ram, every day he learned something new from the sages. So essentially, why and how could Ram inspire others? Ram could inspire others because he himself always sought the company of inspiring people. Because he was always in the company of inspiring people, it was very easy for him to inspire others. One time, one man went to a village. He was just shifting into this new village. And just before entering into the village, he came across a crematorium. And he saw something very shocking in the crematorium, which actually disturbed his mind. He saw that in the crematorium, on every tomb that was there was a age written. In some tombs it was written 2 years old. In another tomb it was written 10 years old. Another tomb it was written 5 years old. The maximum age he saw was 20 years old. He was completely shocked. He concluded that in this village, everyone dies young. So this man, he was very disturbed. I hope it doesn't happen with me. So anyway, he went into the village. As soon as he entered into the village, people were so kind, so cordial. They received him, they welcomed him, they actually worshipped him literally. And he very soon mingled with everybody in the village and he became a part of the village literally. So at a certain point of time, he spoke to some of the friends whom he had gathered, some of the important villagers, and he asked them, why is it that everybody in this village dies young? These people said, come on, what are you talking about? He said, can't you see amidst us there are old people? We have a 70-year-old man, 80-year-old man. He said, I went to the crematorium, and I didn't find any board that says anything beyond 20. How can it be possible? They told him, there is a certain secret in our village, a certain philosophy, a certain principle that we follow. The principle we follow in this village is that everyone in this village maintains a diary. And in that diary, every night before they sleep, they write the number of hours or number of minutes that they spend in satsang, hearing the messages from divine people and doing good work. And at the end of their life, when a person dies, that diary is taken out and all the hours are counted. And that is the age of the person written on the tomb. 20 years means he has spent in his whole life 20 solid years of hearing from wise people. 20 solid years of doing something good for the world. And 2 years means they have spent totally 2 full years doing something good and hearing something good. This man, his perspective of the village changed totally. That night, Ram and Sita decided to sleep early. Lakshman prepared a bed of green grass for Ram and Sita to lie on. And before Ram went to sleep, he was praying that Dasharat, his father, doesn't become blind by crying, because he was constantly crying. Ram was hoping that Dasharat doesn't become blind by crying. And he felt that the only hope was if Bharat comes back on time. And as Ram and Sita were discussing this, Lakshman and Sumantra, they were hearing the discussion. And Lakshman and Sumantra, they actually were very pained in their heart to see Sita sleeping on the bare floor. At least Ram had done that when he was traveling with Vishwamitra Muni. So he has some practice of that. But for Sita, this is the first time in her life that she was going to sleep on the bare floor. So Lakshman and Sumantra, they just couldn't sleep. So they started discussing the events of the day that had happened before. And Lakshman started recollecting all that had happened in his life that particular day. So after Ram decided to take Lakshman along with him. So Lakshman, he went to the palace of his mother, Sumitra, with a great amount of apprehension. Because Lakshman was thinking, one mother has taken the kingdom away from Ram. Because she was forced by her attachment to her son Bharat. He was thinking, will the other mother take the service away from Lakshman? Forced by her attachment to her son. So he was thinking like that, and he entered into Sumitra's palace. And even before he spoke anything, Sumitra spoke something that shocked him. Sumitra said, today, the purpose for which I drank the nectar, the celestial nectar to give birth to 2 children, has been achieved. Both my sons have become servants. Lakshman has become servant of Ram, and Shatrugna has become servant of Bharat. And she told Lakshman, Ramam Dasharatim Vidhi, Mama Vidhi Janakatmajam, Ayodhya Atavim Vidhi, Gachatat Yatha Sukam. She said, Ramam Dasharatam Vidhi, from today onwards, for you, Ram is Dasharat. Ram is your father. From today onwards, Mama Vidhi Janakatmajam. From today onwards, I am not your mother, Sita is your mother. Ayodhya Atavim Vidhim. From today onwards, Ayodhya is the forest for you. And Gachatat Yatha Sukam. Your happiness is in their happiness. So when Lakshman heard this, he was so touched by a mother's mood. Generally, when duty clashes with love, people mostly compromise their duty, giving love as a justification. But Sumitra did something different. She followed her duty using intelligence. So duty should always be done using intelligence, and love should be done using the heart. But unfortunately, mistakes happen when you do duty using your heart and love using your intelligence. Sumitra, she used her brain, used her intelligence to suppress her love, suppress her heart, until she made a decision. And once she made the decision, then she let her heart loose and she cried like anything. So Lakshman was very happy that he had such an amazing mother. One time, one of our brahmacharis, he was walking, and saffron attire, shaven head. So when he was walking, there was one mother walking with her small son, And the small boy looked at this brahmachari and he asked his mother, "Ye kaun hai?" And the mother, you know what she said? She said, "Ghost, bhoot hai." Can you imagine, what an impression the child will carry, If he ever comes to a Hare Krishna temple in the future, he will think, bhoot bangla hai, sab log naach rahe, ghosts are dancing, So the role of a mother is to actually give the right kind of knowledge, right kind of understanding to the child. Every family in this world needs balancers. You find in Lakshman and Ram's family 2 balancers. In Lakshman's family, Lakshman was the hot-headed person, extremely, volatile type. You'll find like that many people in every family, at least one person in every family is like Lakshman, fully volatile. Sumitra was a balancer in his family, extremely cool, extremely composed. And in Ram's family, Kaushalya was very volatile, For anything she would cry. For anything she would get, mad. Ram was a balancer. Cool. Absolutely no, anxiety. So in every family, you need balancers like this. Now, Sumitra was taken care of. Sumitra gave her sanction. Now Lakshmana was worried. What will Urmila say? So Lakshman decided to go to the palace of Urmila. And Urmila, the wife of Lakshman, she was painting in her palace. She loved painting. And she was always an introvert, quiet type of person. So when she was painting, she was alone naturally. And she never liked anybody disturbing her when she was painting. And she was actually painting the picture of the coronation of Ram and Sita. She was thinking of giving that painting as a present to Ram and Sita when they get coronated. So she was so absorbed in that painting, she didn't know what happened in Ayodhya at all. She was completely into it, This is another way to deal with chaos. Get into a different world. So Urmila was completely absorbed in her painting, completely absorbed, and she had no idea what's happening outside. And suddenly, Lakshman entered, and he entered with such a, force rather, that something tripped. And Urmila, she kind of got scared, and the whole paint splashed on the painting, and the whole painting got spoiled. So Urmila didn't know who it was. She was going to blast on the person. Suddenly she turned, she saw Lakshman it was. She didn't say anything. She told him, the painting is spoiled. Lakshman said, don't worry, you have 14 years to paint this again. And then Lakshman told her whatever had happened. And he was expecting Urmila to react. Urmila to say that I will come with you. And he had already prepared dialogues, what he will tell her to stay. But Urmila said something that completely shocked him. She said that creating an environment for another to serve in a focused manner is also service. She said, your duty will be compromised if I come with you. The duty of the wife is to accompany the husband. But to fulfill my duty, how can I object your duty? So she said, the duty actually is to serve a purpose. What is the purpose of doing any duty? The purpose of doing any duty is that the object of your duty is pleased. So essentially, for me to please you, my husband, my duty now is not to follow you, but to stay away from you. And she said, the essence of going with Ram, why you are going with Ram? Your going with Ram is a sacrifice on your part. So you're sacrificing your comforts, you're sacrificing a wife, you're sacrificing a wealth, you're sacrificing everything. And I am sacrificing my duty towards you. And she said, the real duty of a wife is to understand the mood of her husband. So essentially, more than understanding this externals, if you understand the mood of two people, so much can be saved. So mood management from a hedonistic point of view is that making the person whom you love understand your mood and comply with your mood. But mood management from an ascetic point of view, what Urmila is trying to do is striving to understand the mood of the person I love and comply to that mood. So essentially, what Urmila did is something that is amazing. She gave up her desire to go with Lakshman so that Lakshman's desire to serve Ram doesn't get compromised. Can you imagine what a sacrifice she did? When you don't understand the mood of a guru, mood of somebody whom you are trying to serve, what you essentially do is create a total mess. Many people with the desire to please, they feel pleasing the guru, pleasing the person of whom you love means I should get recognition. I should get, the honor. And the other person should not get recognition, other person should not get honor. There were two disciples once who wanted to please their guru very much. But they wanted to please their guru more than the other disciple. So both of them decided to massage the guru. So the guru was lying down, both of them were massaging. One was massaging this side of the guru, the other one was massaging this side of the guru. And while massaging their particular side, they started pinching the other side. Why? So the guru should feel that, hey, gada aadmi hai, wo pinch kar raha hai, dekho. So both of them are pinching both sides of the Guru without understanding that the Guru is in trouble, Having such disciples, better to not have any disciple only, Sumantra, when he heard of the attitude of Sumitra and the attitude of Urmila, he was highly impressed. He was thinking, what kind of a family is this? Lakshman giving up his comforts and walking away to the forest. Sumitra giving blessing to her sons. I am proud to have 2 servants as my sons. And Urmila, she's talking about, following the mood of her husband rather than just physically following the husband. Sumitra was thinking, this is, too high a family. And not just that. Ram, for the sake of the words of his father, giving up a kingdom, not even fighting. Sita, for the sake of being with her husband, giving up the comforts in the palace and walking away. He was thinking, what kind of a family is this? So essentially, the 4 brothers and their 4 wives represent something very important to learn. So the 4 brothers represent 4 good qualities that a human being should have. And the 4 wives represent the process of how to achieve those good qualities. Lakshman represents the good quality of righteousness. And Urmila represents the quality of faith, the process of faith. So that means to achieve righteousness, one has to have faith. With extreme amount of faith, one can become righteous. Ram represents the quality of perfection. And Sita represents the process of peace. To achieve perfection, one has to be peaceful in all situations of life. Bharat represents the quality of auspiciousness, auspicious desires. And Mandhavi, his wife, she represents enthusiasm. To fulfill auspicious desires, you have to be extremely enthusiastic and eager. And Shatrughna represents the quality of wealth. And Shrutakirti, his wife, represents service. So wealth becomes meaningful when it is used in the right service. So Sumitra was thinking, being members of the same family doesn't mean just looking similar. I've seen so many husband and wife who stay for a long period of time, they look very similar also, right? So being members of the same family doesn't mean looking similar, but rather having similar moods. Tiger and cat belong to the same family, but do they have the same mood? Totally different moods they have, So family in which every member is striving to motivate the other. Such a family is the best kind of family. So then Sumantra, after he heard this, he decided to go to sleep. He went to sleep. And in the meanwhile, when Sumantra went away, Lakshman was standing alone. Nidra Devi, the goddess of sleep, she came to Lakshman. And she said, Samay ho gaya, chalo, so jao. It's my turn to serve you. Lakshman said, impossible. He said, I have taken a vow for the next 14 years, I am not going to sleep one night. Nidra Devi said, come on, this is against the laws of God. You can't do this. You have to accept your share of sleep. Lakshman said, go to my wife Urmila, she will sleep on my behalf. And Urmila, when Nidra Devi went to her, she accepted the quota of Lakshman's sleep. So in the day she would sleep on behalf of Lakshman, and the night she would sleep on her own behalf. Can you imagine what kind of a personality this is? So essentially, is real love in physical proximity. We find here, real love is actually in mental proximity. Real separation is distance and mindsets. Today, there are so many people who are staying together, but their mindsets are very far away. And here is an example of a husband and wife staying very far away, but mentally very close. The Ramayana talks about heroic women. Women who are heroes of the future. One time, Thomas Edison, when he was a small child, he came home and gave a piece of paper to his mother. He told his mother, my teacher has told only to give this paper to you. And the mother saw the paper, and as soon as she read what was in the paper, she started crying tears out. So the small child asked her, why are you crying? She said, In the paper it is written that your son is a genius. The school is too small for him and we don't have enough good teachers to teach him. You teach him yourself. So Edison, he accepted what the mother said. After many, many years, Edison went on to become one of the greatest inventors of the century. His mother died. And after that, Edison was just going through the papers of his mother. And suddenly he found this particular paper that the teacher had given him. And in the paper, when he opened the paper and read it, he was shocked. It was written, your son is mentally ill. We won't let him to come to school anymore. The mother read it in a totally different way. She said, your son is a genius. Our school doesn't have enough good teachers to handle him. You teach him yourself. Edison, when he saw this, he started crying like anything. He said that in his diary he wrote, Thomas Alva Edison was a mentally ill child, but by a hero mother, he became the genius of the century. Essentially, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata talk about two women who were the central figures of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Sita, the central figure of the Ramayana, when somebody tried to abuse her, an entire country was destroyed. And Draupadi was the central heroine of the Mahabharata. When she was abused, an entire dynasty was wiped out. But the most interesting part, which seldom people talk about, is after the war got over, after so many people were killed, and after peace was established, what did both these women do? When Hanuman came to Sita, when she was in exile, he told her, you're free now. Ravana is killed. Hanuman asked Sita, I want to kill all these 700 demonesses who have been torturing you. Give me permission to kill them. Sita said, it's no fault of theirs. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just instruments in the hands of Ravana. Forgive them. Sita completely forgave them. And Draupadi, when Ashwathama killed her 5 sons, and Arjuna asked her, what do we do with Ashwathama? She again said, forgive him. So essentially, what really brings the heroic qualities of these two women is, when things became normal, they became normal. They got back their womanly nature and got back their beautiful qualities. Essentially, in life we find that most heroes have been created by mothers who are heroes. In Maharashtra we find Shivaji, personally trained by Jijabai. Whatever he learnt, everything he learnt was from the Ramayana and Mahabharata only, practically. He never went through any regular education. And just by learning the Mahabharata and Ramayana, he became such a powerful, leader. In our ashram, many times we have this discussion: who is more adventurous, man or woman, mother or father? And what is adventure essentially? Adventure is not just about entertainment. Adventure is not just about bungee jumping. Adventure is not just about doing some wild sports. That's not what adventure is. Adventure is when you are facing real life situations, what is your ability to handle it? So many times in the Brahmacharya ashram, when we have this discussion, all of us, we have left our mother and father and come to join the ashram. Naturally, there is a concern sometimes. Parents are getting older. So when we discuss, we often think, if one of our parents had to die first, whom would we prefer to die first, mother or father? And you know what everyone unanimously says? Everyone unanimously says father. Because if the father remains alone, single, he will not know how to handle his life at all. A man breaks down without the association of his women, without the support of his women. But women, in spite of all chaos, in spite of all intensely negative situations, she can still fight. Because there is a certain amount of strength in a woman that is hidden and latent. And that's what personalities like Sumitra and Urmila in the Ramayana signify. So, Lakshman, as Nidra Devi went away, suddenly he saw some kind of a movement near the place where Ram and Sita were sleeping. He ran over there thinking that something went wrong. And he saw Ram was getting up. It was little beyond the middle of the night. Ram started getting up. So Lakshman went and asked him, what happened? Why are you getting up? Ram said, it's time to go. We should leave now before the citizens get up. So they all packed up their luggage. They woke up Sumantra. They bridled the chariot and they left. Ram was telling Lakshman that I don't want to share the burden that I have to experience with my citizens. If they know that I am leaving, they will come along with me and they will suffer along with me. Why should I share my suffering with somebody else? And Ram just went away in the middle of the night. So essentially, the next day morning when the citizens got up, they saw some of the citizens, hey, where are the horses? Somebody said, hey, where's the chariot? He said, you fools, where are the three of them? Ram, Lakshman and Sita. And they started panicking, they started running all over trying to find Ram, Lakshman and Sita and the chariot. They couldn't find anywhere. And what Ram had instructed Sumantra was that he had to drive the chariot in such a way that it would look as if the chariot had gone back to Ayodhya. But actually, he would take another way and go somewhere else. So the citizens, they followed the track marks of the chariot and they found the chariot mark going towards Ayodhya. They felt maybe Ram has changed his mind and gone back to Ayodhya. And they all reached Ayodhya and they found that there is nobody there. Ayodhya was an empty city. And when the people who were left in Ayodhya, they saw these citizens coming, they said, where is Ram? No one realized what happened. And Ram, Lakshman and Sita just went. Srila Prabhupada, in one of the purports where Dhritarashtra leaves Hastinapur without informing anybody, he writes a very important and a very sweet sentence. He says, great people cheat for a great cause. Ram cheated the citizens, but he cheated them for a great cause. Citizens of Ayodhya, when they returned back to Ayodhya, they saw that Ayodhya had lost its charm completely. Ayodhya was a city which was left without any joy. It was a miracle city and now it had become a miserable city. That day in Ayodhya was termed as a black day of Ayodhya. Any mother who gave birth to a child that day felt that the child was ill-lucked. Merchants stopped exhibiting their wares in Ayodhya. No one ate, no one drank, not even anyone cooked in Ayodhya. Even the cats of Ayodhya did not enter the houses to steal. Even the cats were shattered. The dogs of Ayodhya stopped barking. They were only whining. There was a constant stream of tears in the eyes of every cow in Ayodhya, thousands of cows. Each citizen of Ayodhya cursed Kaikeyi, mourned their own sad situation, and went into their house completely disappointed. Often we wonder, why do tears come out of our eyes? Why do we cry? I'm sure all of us would have had our own share of experiences of crying. So, any emotion we find inside has to be expressed outside. When there is anger inside, you shout out, and the anger is expressed outside. But whom can you shout at? You can shout at those people whom you feel can be shouted at. Favorites are mothers. No problem only, she will not react. Even if she reacts, I can handle her, So I know so many youngsters, they just blast on the mother like anything. Father is a little more difficult, So the mothers are like typically the ones that are, the punching bags. Or rather, that maybe punching bag is a little heavier. But at least, scapegoats of certain amount of, anger. So, if not the mother, if you find a friend who you feel that will not leave you, if you shout at the friend, So essentially, anger is expressed by shouting when you know the person won't go away. In some relationships, you don't shout, but rather you hit. You think that the relationship is one step further, one step deeper. But in some relationships, you can't shout, you can't hit. Like if you are angry with the teacher, what can you do? You have to keep quiet. If you're angry with the boss, what can you do? 65% of people in today's corporate scenario, they have desire of killing their bosses. That is the statistics. Revenge fantasies, desire. I wish I could kill this fellow. Yeah. So essentially, when there is somebody whom you can't get angry on, whom you can't express your anger on, you can't hit, what do? That anger comes out in an expression in the form of tears. So every emotion that is inside has to come outside. Either it comes out in the form of words or it comes out in the form of tears. So in Ayodhya, unexpressed emotions came out in the form of tears. The residents of Ayodhya could not express their anger to the king. They could not express their anger to the queen. And they couldn't even think of getting angry on Ram because they loved Ram. And Ram is gone anyways. He didn't fulfill their expectations. So the only option they had was cry. And the citizens continued crying. In the meanwhile, Ram, Lakshman and Sita, in the chariot of Sumantra, they were speeding away like anything. They passed through many rivers. Vedashruti river, Gomati river, Sindhaka river, and they reached the borders of the Koshal province. Ram, at that point of time, he does something very interesting, which is very important for us to know as Indians. When he was crossing the borders of the Koshal province, he actually started crying. And he paid respects to the earth, to the mother earth, because he was thinking he is leaving his motherland, Koshala. He was thinking leaving the borders of the motherland, and he was thinking he was so grateful that the motherland had taken care of him for such a long time and is leaving her borders. Can you imagine? Many times we tend to feel that devotion to the motherland, attraction towards the motherland is something mundane. But here is a reference in the Ramayana where Lord Ram had attraction towards his motherland and he actually cried tears while leaving his motherland. And finally, the three of them reached the river Ganga. And as soon as they reached the river Ganga, Ram got down and he entered into the river and he started performing his oblations and he started meditating on Mother Ganga. And essentially, he drank the waters of the Ganga. And when the sages who were staying around the Ganga, they saw Ram, they started dancing like anything. They started saying that the person who is the final goal of our life has come. The final goal of our life has been achieved. They were dancing like anything. So essentially, this particular scene of Ram entering into Ganga is a very important scene because the same Ram, when he appeared as Lord Vamanadev in many incarnations back, he was the one who actually got the Ganga from the heavenly planets to the earth. When Vamanadev's leg penetrated into the shell of the universe, the waters from the causal ocean, the Karunadaka ocean, started flowing into the universe. And that ocean, that water entered into the heavenly planets and then finally came down to the earth as Ganga. So that same water now was at the feet of Lord Ram and Ganga was actually very happy. So we can learn many things from Ganga. So there are 5 meditations which we can learn from Ganga. So the next time you ever happen to see Ganga, you can remember these 5 things that the river teaches us. The first thing that Ganga teaches us is that Ganga inspires us to contemplate our actions. What is the meaning of Ganga Snan? When you go and have a bath in the Ganga, many people think sins are purified by having bath in the Ganga. So people go all the way to Ganga to have a dip in the Ganga so that their sin gets purified. But what is the actual meaning of Ganga Snan? The actual meaning and actual benefit of Ganga Snan is when you dip into the Ganga and while dipping into the Ganga, you contemplate all the actions that you have done in the past. And you regret the bad actions, the wrong actions. And when you contemplate your actions, that contemplation is actual Ganga Snan. The second thing that Ganga teaches us is that there are many objects in the Vedic culture, such as Ganga. They remind us that we should focus on the results of one's actions than just the force of one's actions. That means, don't just keep doing things. Think about what is the result of what you're doing. Focus on the result of what you're doing and don't just mechanically do things. The third thing that the river teaches us is that just like drops of water keep moving away, but the river stays. Similarly, in life, situations, people may move away, but legacy stays. Leaders may move away, but leadership stays. Parents may move away, but their love and guidance stays. Teachers may move away, but education stays. The fourth thing that we can learn from the Ganga is that just like drops of water from the Ganga can quench the thirst of many people, but the Ganga has its own personal quest of reaching the ocean, wanting to reach the ocean. So Ganga quenches the thirst of many people on the path, but it doesn't forget its own personal quest. That means in life, we should be like the Ganga, serving all our life, but not at the cost of forgetting our own goal. Many people get so much absorbed in serving others that they forget their own goal and they completely lose track. And finally, the Ganga teaches us that the river represents the need to change with the passage of time. Just as new drops replace old drops, similarly, new ideas should replace old ones. Innovation should replace outdated things. And clear mindsets should replace polluted mindsets. So Ram, he contemplated on the Ganga, then he came out and he was preparing himself for the evening, and they were settling down under a huge tree. Lakshman, he went to get some fruits, and just when he came back, suddenly a big, pandemonium started, and so many drums and so much chaos was going on. Lakshman became alert. He thought somebody is attacking. And suddenly, Ram, he got up and he started running towards somebody. So Lakshman didn't understand whom he is running towards. And then he heard a voice which said, "Welcome to Shringaberpur." So Lakshman had never heard of this place. But Ram knew the person who was the king of this place. He was a person named Guha. He was a tribal chief and he was a very close friend of Dasharat. He was, of course, a subordinate chieftain in Dasharat's kingdom. And Dasharat and Guha had a very close relationship, and Ram knew about this relationship. So Ram went and hugged this person. Lakshman was amazed how Ram, such a sophisticated prince, such a erudite scholar, and such a regal personality, is so comfortably and so happily embracing a person who is a complete, in terms of the externals, very different from the cultural background of Ayodhya. So essentially, Ram, in spite of being specialized in so many things, he had one quality that really stood out. It is a quality that the Acharyas considered to be one of the highest qualities of Lord Ram. That is the quality known as Saushilya. Saushilya essentially means being amicable. He was just happy to be amicable to anyone and everyone. Guha, who was a tribal chief, Ram became very strongly connected to him. So Guha, he was very disturbed hearing the story of Dasharat, how Dasharat had unjustly asked Ram to leave the kingdom. And Guha, just to make up for the whole sadness, he presented a lot of gifts to Ram. And finally he told Ram that this kingdom is your kingdom now. Everything that belongs to me is yours. Ram told Guha that I have already taken a vow that I will not enter into any kingdom. I have already taken a vow that I will not eat any palatable dishes. I will only eat roots and fruits. And I will sleep on a grass bed. So he said, I can't ever enter into a kingdom. This particular place, and there are two other instances in the Ramayana where Ram actually talks about this vow of his. The vow that he would for 14 years only eat roots and fruits. There are many people in this world who even today speculate that Ram ate meat. And actually you look at all the new fictionalized versions of Ramayana where it immediately talks about Ram eating meat. Here is an instance in the Ramayana where Ram talks about his vows. We all know that Ram is Maryada Purushottam. Maryada Purushottam means the one who, once he makes a particular statement, he sticks to it for life. And look at this. If he has made a statement that he's going to eat roots and fruits for 14 years, it's not that he's going to eat meat. We never find any examples in any of the Ramayans of any people where Ram eat meat in Ayodhya. But we always find examples of Ram eating meat in forest. here is a stance where we can always counter ask that where in the Ramayana it is spoken about Ram eating meat. Here Ram very clearly takes a vow. Anyways, so Guha, he leaves from that place, and Lakshman, he is very intrigued. He is asking Sumantra, what is the meaning of this word Shringaberapur? What is the meaning of this place? Sumantra explains that this particular village is called Shringaberapur because of the technique that the hunters use to catch deers. What they essentially do is that they make dummies of the deers. They make stuffed deers which look exactly like the original deer, and they keep it in the forest. And when the original deers, they come close to the stuffed deers and start licking the stuffed deers, start connecting with the stuffed deers, the hunters throw their net and catch the deer. And therefore this place is known as Shringaberapur. So Lakshman learned his first lesson in the forest, which essentially means that mirages don't exist in deserts, they exist in the mind. The dummy deer teaches that the mind may mislead you. So what Lakshman learned is, in the forest, there is survival of the cleverest. Sumantra went to sleep after that, and Lakshman continued staying alert. So Ram and Sita were sleeping in between. Lakshman started moving around Ram and Sita to guard Ram and Sita. As Lakshman was moving around Ram and Sita to guard them, take care of them, suddenly he heard some kind of a rustling movement, and he immediately saw in that direction. He was shocked to see that Guha, he was also in that place with a bow and arrow. So Lakshman was bewildered, why is this man coming back again? So Guha, he also had his own suspicion. When Ram and Lakshman are sleeping, why is Lakshman guarding Ram and Lakshman? Why is he not sleeping? And that too, why he has a bow and arrow? So Guha was thinking that Lakshman has been sent by Bharat, so that when Ram and Sita are sleeping, Lakshman can kill Ram and Sita, and he goes back and rules along with Bharat. So Guha doubted Lakshman, and Lakshman doubted Guha. So Lakshman said, I have taken a vow that I will not sleep for 14 years. Guha said, what sense that vow makes? And he said, I have to guard Ram and Sita. Guha said, you don't know anything about this forest. What will you guard them? You sleep, I'll guard them. So Lakshman said, I'm not going to sleep. Guha said, I'm also not going to sleep. So Ram and Sita were sleeping in between. Lakshman was moving around them, guarding them. Guha was moving around Lakshman. And then looking at Guha, moving around Lakshman and Ram and Sita like that, all the soldiers of Guha, they started thinking, what is the intention of our master? They thought Guha has some bad intention, and all of them started roaming around Guha. So for the full night, Ram and Sita were sleeping, Lakshman was moving around them, Guha was moving around them, and all the soldiers of Guha were moving around Guha. In that forest, only 2 people slept. Everybody else was awake. Essentially, why do people lose sleep? In today's time, if you ask why people lose sleep, there are many reasons. First, internet. Second, WhatsApp. Third, worry. Fourth, enjoyment. Pubs, all kinds of enjoyment, games, And fourth and fifth, of course, work, passion, to earn. So most people who sacrifice sleep, they sacrifice because of these reasons. But the most engaging aspect of mundane life, which is sleep. People love sleeping, by the way. Even if they sacrifice in the night, they make up for it in the day. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Holiday time means 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock is normal, So people sleep, people love sleep. Because one of the most engaging aspects of mundane life is sleep. So essentially, sleep loses its appeal to the one who is charmed by the beauty of God. When somebody is attracted by the beauty of God, that person loses his sleep. So in that particular Shringaberapur, only 2 people were sleeping, Ram and Sita. And anybody else who saw the beauty of Ram and Sita, they lost their sleep. We find in the history, the acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur sleeping for 3 hours, 4 hours. Srila Prabhupada sleeping for 3 hours, 4 hours. Why? The reason is not that they're not getting sleep. Most people who don't sleep, they don't sleep because either they're not getting sleep or they are engaged in some passionate activity. But the reason that these great personalities don't get sleep is because they are charmed by something better than mundane sleep. The next day morning, Ram, Lakshman and Sita, they get up. And before they leave Guha's place, Ram asks Guha to get him latex wet gum, which is made from the trees. And he applied it on his hair and he made his hair into a matted coil. When Guha saw Ram and Lakshman making their hair into a matted coil like the sages, he was so hurt because Ram's hair was like literally cascading like a river, extremely soft and silky. And Guha was so hurt that Ram was doing this to his hair. Actually, Guha was thinking that destiny is playing such a cruel game with such sincere people. And then finally, Ram, he decided to leave Guha. And as he was leaving, he asked for a boat to take him across the Ganga. Guha appointed a boatman who would take Ram across the Ganga. So Lakshman prepared the boat. He made a soft seat for Sita to sit on. They helped Sita get on the boat. And Lakshman was just getting on the boat. And Ram was just going to step into the boat. The boatman said, "Hey, wait, you can't step into the boat." Now Guha was completely bewildered. His own man. He's telling Ram, "You can't get into the boat." So nobody could understand. Sita was completely bewildered. Ram started smiling. And this man, he said, "You can't get into the boat like this." So everybody asked, what happened? So this man said, his name was Kevat. He said, "Your feet has some problem. Anytime your feet touches anything, that becomes a girl. The last time your feet touched a stone, it became a maiden." He said, "I have only one boat and I already have a wife, If this boat becomes a girl, I can't handle two wives, I don't earn so much, So he said, "You can't get in like this." So now Guha was bewildered, what's going on over here, So Ram said, "What should I do?" He said, "Only when I wash your feet and remove all the dust from your feet, only then you can go in." Ram said, "Fine, do it." Sita was so irritated at this point of time. And this man, he washed the feet of Ram not once, not twice, 10, 15 times, thoroughly. Every time saying, "One more dust is there." Again he washed, thoroughly washing the feet of Ram. And every time he was washing the feet of Ram, he was looking at Sita and sarcastically smiling at her. They have a history in the past. Because when Mother Sita was in the heavenly planets, in the Vaikuntha planets, with Lord Vishnu, Vishnu was lying on the snake bed, and his lotus feet, the heels of his feet look like buds of a lotus. So his feet was hanging on hanging below. And one tortoise, he thought that feet was a bud of a lotus, and he just put his head up to lick the feet. And at that time, Lakshmi Devi, she shooed the tortoise away, saying that, "Hey, you can't, you're a dirty tortoise, get lost from here." That tortoise eventually became this man named Kevat. So at that time, you didn't allow me to, wash his feet, touch his feet. Today I will take full advantage and you can't do anything. So that day, Mother Sita made a conclusion that when anyone takes shelter of Ram's feet, I will not push them away. And eventually in Kakasur's episode, we find that she, learned this lesson. Anyways, so Sita, she just tolerated, and Kevat washed the feet thoroughly. And finally, Ram got into the boat. And Guha, he was really desperate. And he was telling Lord Ram, "My dear Lord, as per your request, I have arranged a boat to take you across the Ganga. At the time of death, my request is, please arrange a boat to take me across the ocean of birth and death." And then Ram started telling Guha that, "I know why my father has sent me to the forest. My father has sent me to the forest because he wanted me to discover my fifth brother. You are my fifth brother." And he actually embraced Guha and accepted him as his own brother. And then eventually Ram gave Guha a very important instruction, which teaches such an important lesson in our lives. Ram told Guha that you stay here and rule this kingdom with the sole purpose of pleasing me. because Guha was actually thinking of leaving the kingdom and going along with Ram. So he said, you stay here and rule the kingdom with the sole purpose of pleasing me, because remember that your people are now my people. Your kingdom is now my kingdom. And by looking after your people, you get the same benefit of serving me and pleasing me. And he said, by doing this, you will actually be pleasing me. The concept that we learn from this particular aspect of the story is, what is the meaning of being an instrument in the hand of God? I was hearing a very interesting description of when the war of Lanka got over and Ram came back to Ayodhya with the whole monkey army. He asked the monkey army to go back after the coronation got over. So all the monkeys, they wanted to stay back in Ayodhya and continue serving Ram in Ayodhya. But Ram said, go back to Kishkinda, go back to your own places and do Ram Kaj. So the monkeys are thinking, how can you do Ram Kaj in Kishkinda? Ram Kaj can be done in Ayodhya and Kam Kaj can be done in Kishkinda. So Ram said, no, go back to Kishkinda and do Ram Kaj. The monkey said, my dear Lord, if you want us to do Ram Kaj, allow us to stay in Ayodhya so that we can serve you. And we're doing Ram Kaj all the time. Ram said, no, go back to Kishkinda and do Ram Kaj. And then he gave an explanation, what is the meaning of Ram Kaj? He said, till this point of time, before you met me, you were thinking your wife is your wife. Your children are your children. Your palace is your palace. But after you met me, you are convinced that all your property belongs to Ram and you're only their caretaker. So now when you go back to Kishkinda, you will not be with the mood that I have to work to feed them. But for me, feeding them is serving Ram. So now Kam Kaj has become Ram Kaj. And essentially Ram was telling Guha exact same thing here. You take care of your family, you take care of your kingdom, but in the spirit that they all belong to me and you're doing it to please me. And that's exactly what work and devotion is. When we work in our lives, in whatever occupation we do, but when we work with the spirit of devotion, that work actually becomes service to God. Sumantra, he starts asking, what do I do now? Ram says, go back with the chariot. Sumantra says, my dear Lord, how can I go back with the chariot? The horses are just not refusing to go. All the horses were crying. So Ram said that Kaikeyi will get satisfaction only when she sees an empty chariot coming back. Because the empty chariot has to go back to Ayodhya, you have to go. So Sumantra, he was totally shattered, he was totally hurt by this understanding of what Ram is telling. And then eventually Ram, Lakshmana, Sita left and along in the boat basically. And Sumantra, the Guha and the sages of in that area, they were staying back and watching them go. So the boatman, he dropped them to the other side, and as soon as the boatman dropped them to the other side of the river, Ram wanted to give something to the boatman, but now he was a beggar, he had nothing to give. So seeing Ram's dilemma, Sita removed one of her rings and gave it to Ram to give it to the boatman. So Ram gave that ring to the boatman denied it. He didn't want the ring. He said, just serving you is my greatest pleasure. And the boatman refused to take anything. And Ram didn't return the ring back to Sita. He wore the ring. Sita at that point of time was thinking, why did Ram wear the ring? She couldn't figure it out. But much later she would understand why Ram wore that ring. So then onwards, Ram, Lakshmana and Sita started walking. They didn't have a chariot. They didn't have any boat now. They were walking. And it's interestingly, when Ram, Lakshmana and Sita were walking, the format was always this. Ram would walk ahead, Sita would walk in between, and Lakshmana would walk behind. And as they were walking, they were seeing many things in the forest. One of the things they were seeing in the forest was how elephant cubs and lion cubs were playing together. They were not harming each other, but they were playing together. So when Sita saw the cubs of lion and elephants playing together, she was fascinated. So Ram was telling her how childhood innocence turns into weakness and insecurity and fearful adulthood. So initially, the need for food is less because the parents are taking care of that need. So the need for pleasure is more. So when the need for pleasure is more, there is no question of enmity. Everybody is your friend. But the moment the need for food comes in, enmity starts. What is the corporate world? The corporate world is nothing but a jungle world only, where people who are friends in the colleges, they become enemies because now it is no more pleasure time, but it is the hunt for food. And as soon as there is, the hunt for food, lions and elephants don't play, they fight. So in the jungle, the only kind of people that don't fight are the sages. Because the jungle is also the home for evolved sages. The sages have outgrown the hunger because they're focusing on the abundance mentality. Abundance mentality means they can see food everywhere. They can see God's provision everywhere. But scarcity mentality means you can't see food everywhere. You feel that I have to attack to get my share. So the sages are evolved beings who grow from a scarcity mentality to abundance mentality. And that's exactly the situation in today's world. There are some people who live life like the animals, thinking of scarcity all the time. And there are some people who have evolved themselves and are thinking of abundance everywhere. So then Ram, Lakshman and Sita, they continue walking. And something very interesting that in their walk, when Ram walks ahead, his footprint is imprinted on the soils of on the soils of the forest. And when Sita sees the footprint of Ram, she doesn't step on the footprint of Ram. She walks towards the left, keeping the footprint towards the left side. And she carefully avoids the footprint of Ram. And Lakshman, when he sees Sita's footprint, he goes even further. He carefully avoids the footprint of Sita. So Sita's footprint is on Lakshman's side and Ram's footprint is on Sita's left. All the three of them are walking, but in that walk there is so much sensitivity. Essentially, what does footprint indicate? Anything connected to the Lord is known as tadiya. At one level, the footprint of the Lord are considered to be holy and worshipable. But on another level, footprints also represents ideologies. Footprints also represents teachings. And footprint represents the very heart of the master. An insensitive disciple, he stamps on the footprint, doesn't care. That means an insensitive disciple doesn't bother about overcoming or rather putting his leg over the ideologies of his master. But a sensitive disciple is very careful of allowing the footprint of Ram to remain on the side. The sages of the forest, when they were seeing Ram, Lakshman and Sita walking, they saw something very fascinating. Ram actually represents the letter A, because anything first indicates Ram. The alphabet A is the first letter in the alphabets. It represents Ram. Sita represents the letter U, because she represents the energy of the Lord. And Lakshman represents the letter Ma, which represents the master, the spiritual guru. So when the sages of the forest were seeing Ram, Lakshman and Sita walking, they were seeing that Om, A-U-Ma, Omkar was walking. Personified Om was walking. So essentially from this we learn the sensitivity of Lakshman and Sita towards the mood of Ram and towards the tadiya of Ram. And after that, eventually what happens was Ram, Lakshman, Sita, they spend the night in the forest. They're completely, especially Ram is totally disturbed about what is happening in Ayodhya. He cries. I'll not get into details of that. The next day morning, they reach Prayag. Prayag is the confluence of Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. And there they meet Bharadwaj Muni. So Bharadwaj Muni was a great sage who points out to them, they want to know where to stay for the next 14 years. He says, stay with me only. They say, we can't stay here because Prayag anyway is a very popular place. It's a tourist destination already. So many people will come. And to visit us, thousands of people will come. The sanctity of the place will go away and we will also be disturbed. So then finally, Bharadwaj Muni shows them the way to Chitrakoot. And Ram, Lakshman and Sita, they go ahead to Chitrakoot. In the meanwhile, the empty chariot returns to Ayodhya. And when Vashishta sees the empty chariot coming, he goes away crying. And Dasharat, when he sees Sumantra returning alone, he becomes very hurt. Kaushalya was expecting Ram to come back. When she sees Sumantra alone, she starts crying like anything, and she actually overreacts for the first time. So she says, a woman generally relies on two men, her husband and her son. And she said, for me, both the men have become distant. My husband is physically close, but mentally very distant. But my son is physically very far, but mentally very close. So she said that for me, both the levels, there is so much pain. And at that point of time, Dasharat, he was in extreme amount of pain. 6 days had already passed, the Ram had gone away, and he was already writhing in so much pain. At that point of time, Dasharat remembers an incident that happened many years back, the incident of how he had killed Shravan Kumar. So he was thinking at this point of time, why am I suffering for the last 6 days? Because I have not reached the peak of pain. Until I reach the same pain that the parents of Shravan Kumar had experienced, the same pain that Shravan Kumar had experienced, till that time death won't come to me. Because the law of karma is very fair. It's not that you get the reaction to the wrong that you did, but you get the reaction in the same proportion and in the same magnitude. And therefore, Dasharat, eventually he died a very miserable death, taking the names of Lord Ram. And Vashishta, he took the body of Dasharat and put it into a vat of oil, because there was nobody to cremate the king. Destiny is a very interesting act. Destiny actually is just and perfect. There was a man who wanted to commit suicide. He jumped from the 14th floor of his building to commit suicide. And as he jumped from the 14th floor of the building, he was falling down. On the 9th floor of his building, a gunshot came, hit his head, and he died before reaching down. So there was a case, who actually, how did he die? Was it suicide or was it murder? Then they found out that the gunshot that actually came from the 9th floor was shot by an old man. This old man was fighting with his wife, old lady. And in the fight, he was threatening her with a gun. By mistake, the gun fired. And the gun hit and, it hit this fellow. So then they found out, so this fellow was saying, it is not my mistake, I didn't do it. Then they said that we have been fighting for years now. And every time I show the gun, but there's never any bullet in that gun. I have never loaded a bullet in the gun ever. Then they did an investigation to find out who loaded the bullet in the gun. Then they found out that the son of this old man and the old woman, he loaded the bullet because his mother, this old lady, she had denied to give him some property or something like that. So just to try the luck, then maybe the father will warn her and maybe the father will fire her and he will die. He loaded the bullet in that gun. And after loading the bullet in the gun, the father didn't know about it, the mother didn't know about it. He just fired randomly and he hit this fellow. Then they wanted to find out, where is that son? Get that son over here. Then they found out that the son had just committed suicide, jumped from the 14th floor of the building. Interestingly, the most amazing part of the case was that fellow only jumped, but on the 8th floor there was a net. Some workers were doing some painting. Even if he had committed suicide, he would not have died, because the net would have saved him. But the suicide, they were thinking, is it suicide or is it murder? Because now the net would have saved him. It wouldn't have been suicide. It was murder. But the cause of the murder was not the father, but it was son only. So then they finally decided that he shot himself. So it was suicide only. So look at how destiny plays a role. You don't just get the reaction to your wrong, but you get the reaction to the wrong in the same way and the same magnitude to which you have done it. In the meanwhile, Vashishta sends a few messengers to Bharat's place. Bharat is staying in the house of Kaikeyi's father, Ashwapati, his grandfather, maternal grandfather's house. So for the last 12 years, Bharat has actually been here. He has not been in Ayodhya at all. After the marriage, he directly left over here. He and Shatrughna have been residing here all this time. So Vashishta sends for Bharat messengers. So what has been happening in Kaikeyi Desh was that Bharat has been having an intense dream. The intense dream of Bharat was that he saw that his father is running up a mountain and he has reached a cliff of the mountain. And the body of the father, he is completely dirty, his hair are disheveled, and he seems to really be in a hopeless black attire. And from top of the cliff, he falls into a valley. And in that valley is filled with dirt, cow dung. So he is swimming in a muck, literally. And the king, he has gone mad. He is laughing like crazy. And finally, the father comes out. The Dasharat comes out of that muck, and as soon as he comes out of the muck, somebody gives him oil, and Dasharat is actually drinking sesame seed oil. And suddenly, one ugly-looking demoness, Rakshasi, she comes in that area, and she starts dragging Dasharat towards the chariot, which is drawn by donkeys. And she puts a garland of hibiscus, red flowers around Dasharat's neck. And she smears red sandalwood paste on his face. So Bharat is seeing such a ghastly dream. And this lady is taking him on the chariot towards the south. So this is the scene that Bharat sees, and he gets up. And all day he is disturbed, and his friends are trying to encourage him. And he says, this dream means only three things. Either I am going to die, or Lakshman is going to die, or maybe my father is going to die. So essentially, Bharat, at that point of time, he gets a call from the court. The messengers of Vashishta have reached the court of Dasharat, of Kaikeya, and they want to see him. So Bharat goes to the court, and as soon as he sees the messengers, he realizes there are only two things possible. The first thing is that the messengers have come from the highest royal authority of Ayodhya, looking at their dress, looking at what they have got, the kind of gifts they have got. And the second thing is that from their face, he can make out they are not going to reveal everything to him. They are not going to speak anything. So the messengers of Ayodhya, he starts inquiring. They don't say anything. They only tell one thing, that goddess of fortune is waiting for you in Ayodhya. So he doesn't understand what is the meaning of that. Goddess of fortune is waiting for him. And then Bharat, he travels along with the messengers back to Ayodhya. It takes the messengers about 3 or 4 days to reach. It takes them back about 8 days to reach. When Bharat enters Ayodhya, Bharat sees all kinds of ill omens everywhere. The city is empty, no music, no fragrance. When he enters the gate, the gatekeepers are crying constantly. The city is desolate, no flags, no trade going on, none of the temples are decorated. He runs to the palace of Dasharat. The hinges of the palace are all by now rusty. The whole place is completely dilapidated. Father is not there in the palace. He runs to his mother's palace. When the whole city of Ayodhya is so sad and so disturbed, Kaikeyi, she was extremely happy. She was extremely joyous. She had decorated herself very nicely. And as soon as she saw Bharat, she said, "You have come from my father's house, which is like heaven for me. Tell me how is my father? Tell me how is my brother?" Bharat started telling him, "What is wrong with Ayodhya? Where is the king? What is happening with everybody here?" And as soon as Bharat said this, Kaikeyi made a statement that hit Bharat so hard. She said, "Yagati sarva bhutanam tam gatim te pita gatim." She says that where every animal goes after death, there your father also has gone. Can you imagine? She spoke about the king, his father, in such a low-class way. Essentially, insensitive people who live agenda-driven lifestyles, they don't measure the temperature of their words. When their words come out of their mouth, they create blisters on their part to their ears. And the words of Kaikeyi hit Bharat so hard, he literally fell down and he fainted. Then Kaikeyi started speaking more. She started telling, "Don't grieve for that which is inevitable. There is no point in lamenting for that which is gone. And she said the body is anyway going to get destroyed at some point of time. Wise people don't shed tears for something that they can't do anything about. Kaikeyi was speaking Bhagavad Gita. But she was not speaking the Bhagavad Gita in the mood of Krishna. When knowledge is given, knowledge is not bad. But the knowledge has to be given in the right spirit. That's when the knowledge goes in. So essentially, Bharat was shocked. She said, so he started saying, Ram is very lucky that at least my father left in his presence. And Ram could do the final rites for my father. So he said, what is the last thing that my father said? Can you tell me? So she said, the last thing your father said is, O Ram, O Lakshman, O Sita. And he died. So he said, where was Ram, Lakshman and Sita? She said, Ram, Lakshman and Sita, they went to Dandakaranya forest, they were exiled. So Bharat got the shock again. When Ram, Lakshman and Sita are exiled, he started asking, has Ram done something wrong? He started mentioning many of the sins that Ram had done. If any of the sins that Ram had done, it would be, he said, there is no problem if Ram is exiled. Kaikeyi said, Ram could never have done any sin in his life. And as Kaikeyi was speaking all these words, Bharat, he realized something very interesting. He realized that Kaikeyi is totally an insensitive person. When somebody is struck by an arrow, do you sit and analyze what the metal of the arrow is, how the arrow is made, what metal it is, how sharp it is? You don't care. Arrow is an arrow. Similarly, when words hurt you a lot, you don't so much care about what exactly was the composition of the words, but the feeling that the words give, that's what remains. So we will stop at this point of time. This is like a high point in the story, I know, but unfortunately the time is also over. What we'll do is that from this point onwards, I've actually not even spoken half of what I was supposed to speak today. There's a lot to speak. So tomorrow I'm going to speak a little faster, and I'll start exactly on time also. So please make sure that you come on time. So tomorrow we will be discussing essentially 7 stories of Bharat. How 7 people misunderstood Bharat, and how Bharat dealt with all the 7 misunderstandings. And after dealing with all the 7 misunderstandings, how Bharat reaches Ram, and how Bharat tries to pacify Ram to come back. So tomorrow the topic will be straightening the bends of life. And we will continue with, of course, we have not even spoken about understanding misunderstanding so far. We will continue that also tomorrow. Thank you very much for your attentive listening. And I'm very happy that all of you all have participated so enthusiastically. Be happy to connect with all of you all today and tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.